The emerald fog of the Queen City. The sun dipped low behind the hills of Cincinnati, casting long purple shadows over the Ohio River. Silas, a man who had seen too many dark nights as a city investigator, leaned against the railing of the overlook. The city was quiet, but it was the kind of quiet that felt like a held breath. He watched the lights of the great American Tower flicker on, one by one, unaware that the evening's peace was about to shatter. It started with a low hum from the water, followed by a thick, sickly green mist that rolled off the riverbanks. It didn't look like weather. It looked like a chemical spill in the sky. Silas watched in horror as the fog swallowed the Roebling Bridge whole. From within the emerald haze, the first screams echoed, followed by a sound he would never forget. The rhythmic, wet thumping of footsteps that were far too heavy to be human. Silas rushed down toward the riverfront, his boots clicking on the cobblestones. Near the foot of the bridge, a figure emerged from the fog. It moved with a jerky, unnatural twitch, its clothes tattered and its skin a pallid, bruised gray. As it turned toward him, Silas saw the vacant, milky eyes of a creature that was no longer a man. It let out a guttural moan, reaching out with fingers that clawed at the air. A sharp whistle pierced the air, and a woman appeared from the shadows of a nearby alley. This was Marrow, a researcher from the university hospital, who had seen the data before the world went dark. She grabbed Silas by the sleeve and pulled him behind a stack of shipping crates. "Don't let them touch you," she hissed, her voice trembling but her grip firm. "The Cincinnati strain doesn't just kill, it rewrites." Marrow opened a leather satchel, revealing a series of glowing blue vials and a crumpled map of the city. She pointed a shaking finger toward the iconic dome of Union Terminal. "The source is there," she explained. Zinzendorf Industries moved their lab into the sub-basement 3 months ago. They were testing a regrowth serum in the city's water supply. The fog is just the byproduct of a system gone critical. To reach the terminal, they had to navigate the narrow, dark corridors of Over the Rhine. The streets were a maze of abandoned cars and shadows that moved when they shouldn't. Silas led the way, his flashlight cutting through the gloom. Every time a trash can rattled or a door creaked, he moved to shield Marrow, his eyes scanning the rooftops for the hunters that he knew were watching them from the dark. They reached the massive, silent doors of the museum center at Union Terminal. The grand fountain in front was dry, filled only with the lingering green mist. Marrow stepped up to the service entrance, her fingers flying over a hidden keypad she had memorized weeks ago. "If we can get to the mainframe," she whispered, "we can vent the fog and stop the transformation before it reaches the suburbs." Inside, the silence was even more terrifying. The grand rotunda was a hollow shell of its former glory. Silas navigated the laboratory stairs, finding himself in a room filled with glass tanks. Inside one, a massive, muscular form floated in stagnant fluid, a prototype of the horror outside. He found a discarded file on a desk, the Zinzendorf logo stamped in red ink. The project name was Queen City Rebirth. A crash shook the floor as the glass tank shattered. The prototype, a hulking beast with exposed muscle and jagged bone protrusions, stepped into the light. It roared, a sound that shook the very foundations of the terminal. Silas stood his ground, pulling a flare from his belt and igniting it. The red sparks showered the floor, casting the monster in a bloody hue as it prepared to lunge. The battle was a blur of fire and shadows. With Marrow's help, the terminal's ventilation fans roared to life, sucking the green poison from the sky. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Silas and Marrow stood on the terminal steps, watching the emerald fog dissipate into the morning air. The city was scarred, and the night was far from over, but for the first time in hours, the air was clear enough to breathe.